Today, I'm going to diverge from the normal path of reloading per se and talk about food. In particular, we're going to talk about rice. Now, no, this is not turning into a cooking channel. However, I needed to educate myself about rice. I am not a chef by any stretch of the imagination, although I do cook at home, and I know what I personally like. However, I don't know very much about rice, the different kinds of rice. Now, you may be asking yourself, why would you talk about rice? You're smart. That's a great question. And we're also going to talk about surgery. Now, why would I talk about surgery? Because we're going to talk about brass. And if you want to clean your brass with rice, may I make a suggestion? You see how some of those rice grains are shorter and rounder and fatter, where some are longer and skinnier. Now, I don't know how well that's showing up on the camera, but in the first picture here, you can just Google types of rice grains and you're going to get a bunch of images that come up. And that's all that I did. And I grabbed like the second or third one that looked like it would be a reasonable pictorial education for somebody who doesn't really want to become an expert in rice. But if I'm going to use rice to clean my brass, probably worth paying attention to. Because I would imagine if you're the type of individual who thinks, you know what, I watched this YouTube video where this guy used rice to clean his brass, and I want to try that. Cool. It works really well, maybe. I don't know. I've never tried it. However, I can tell you that the long, skinny type, and I'm going to see if the camera is going to pick that up. You notice you can't see daylight through that flash hole? Let me find another one here where it's a little more obvious. Daylight. No daylight. Now we're going to learn how to be surgeons. So if you're a surgeon, you know, sometimes you got something inside that shouldn't be there and you need to get rid of it. Because if you've got this, again, the camera's probably not picking it up real well. What I'm showing you is there's long grain, skinny pieces of rice clogging the flash holes of these 380 casings that were first decapped and then cleaned in the vibratory tumbler with rice. Now, I don't know what kind of rice the fella used. I got this stuff in on like an estate sort of thing. But as I'm looking at the pictures, you want something short and fat like arborio, short grain, that kind of thing. If you went with basmati or long grain, you know what I mean? Something long and skinny that's got the potential to clog a flash hole, I pretty much guarantee it's going to. So if you are inclined to do that, don't knock out the old primer first. Excuse me. You want to clean it with the primer, the old primer, in the casing, and then resize, decap, do it that way. Otherwise, you're going to learn how to be a surgeon. And we're going to excise long, skinny casings of foreign material in the flash hole where you are, if you're not paying attention, brother, you are absolutely begging for a hang fire. So, you know, you've got this affair by Lee where you can put a case on top of here and you've got this little punch and you can put that into the flash hole, onto the casing, onto the holder. And the thing is, it's hard to get the decapping pin portion into the flash hole to knock out that piece of rice, because ordinarily with a primer, you've got a little bit of a cup, right? And that thing's kind of going into there. So you can find the flash hole easy enough using this affair. However, when there's a piece of rice sticking up, You know what I mean? It's like you're trying to do this and it wants to fall off all the time. But you can get your mallet and you can kind of eyeball it and kind of tap, tap, tap. And basically you're breaking up that little grain of rice. And you can do it that way. Now, another method is dental picks. Dental picks really come in handy for so much stuff, right? You kind of get it on there a little bit inside that primer pocket. Camera's going to have a hard time picking this up, right? And then you can kind of use the curved end and push it out. See that little guy right there? See, now we can see daylight. So, I mean, maybe rice works really, really well for cleaning casings. And if it does, go for it. God bless you. More power to you. Um, but there's such a thing as false economy. If you go to the store and they've got like this bazillion pound bag of rice for 20 bucks, oh, perfect. That's a lot cheaper than like walnut tumbling media. I'm going to use some rice. Well, if you make sure that you leave the old primer in the casing and then tumble them, you're probably going to be just fine. Because when you go to size them, the decapping pin will make certain that that flash hole is clear. But if not, you tumble these things, I guarantee you're getting a hang fire. Just saying. Happy trails.